7 days before my wedding, my brother put a $50,000 check on the table and told me to disappear. Not postpone the wedding. Not call off the engagement. Disappear. Leave town. Change my number. Never speak to my fiancée again. When I asked him why, he looked like a man watching a train crash in slow motion. And the worst part? Years later, I discovered he hadn't been trying to stop me from making the biggest mistake of my life. He'd been trying to stop something much worse. But before we start today's story, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. My name is Nathan Reed, and I'm 39 years old. 10 years ago, I was 29 and completely in love with a woman named Claire Morgan. At least I thought I was. Claire had a way of making people feel special. When she spoke to you, it felt like you were the only person in the room. She remembered tiny details about people, birthdays, favorite foods, stories they'd told months earlier. She made everyone feel seen. That was one of the reasons I fell for her. The other reason was simple. She made me believe I deserved happiness. Before Claire, life hadn't exactly been easy. My father died when I was 20. My mother spent years battling depression. My older brother, Ryan, practically helped raise me. He sacrificed a lot so I could finish college. Because of that, Ryan and I were incredibly close. Or at least we used to be. Everything changed the day he met Claire. Most people liked her immediately. Ryan didn't. The first time they met, he barely spoke. The second time, he seemed uncomfortable. By the third meeting, I could tell something was wrong. When I asked him about it, he shrugged. I don't trust her, I laughed. You don't trust anybody. This is different. How? He looked at me for a long moment, then said something strange. I hope I'm wrong. At the time, I thought he was being dramatic. I wish I'd listened more carefully. As the wedding approached, Ryan's behavior became increasingly bizarre. He started asking odd questions. Questions that made no sense. Had Claire ever talked about her childhood? Did I know all her previous addresses? Had I met many people from her past? The questions annoyed me. I accused him of trying to sabotage my relationship. Eventually, we stopped talking about Claire altogether. Then came the meeting. 1 week before the wedding, Ryan called and insisted we meet alone. When I arrived at the restaurant, he looked exhausted. His eyes were bloodshot. His hands trembled slightly. I thought maybe he was sick. Then he slid an envelope across the table. Inside was a cashier's check, $50,000. I nearly choked. What is this? Take it. I stared at him. For what? His answer came immediately. Leave Claire. I laughed because the alternative was believing he was serious. Unfortunately, he was. You're insane. Nathan, listen to me. No, you listen to me. People started staring. I didn't care. You want me to throw away my future because of a feeling? It's not a feeling. Then explain. His jaw tightened. I can't. I stood up. Then we're done. As I turned away, he grabbed my wrist, not aggressively, desperately. Nathan. I looked back. For the first time in my life, my brother looked scared, genuinely scared. If you marry her, someone is going to get hurt. A chill moved through me. What does that mean? But he let go of my wrist and said nothing. I walked away. A week later, I married Claire. Ryan didn't attend. Neither did his wife, Emma. My mother cried when she saw their empty seats. I pretended it didn't bother me, but it did. The absence felt like a shadow hanging over the entire day. Still, the wedding was beautiful. Claire looked stunning. And when she said her vows, I believed every word. I believed every promise. Every promise. For the first 2 years, life seemed perfect. We bought a house, built careers, talked about having children. Whenever I thought about Ryan, I convinced myself he'd eventually apologize. Then little things started happening. Nothing dramatic. Nothing obvious. Just enough to make me uncomfortable. Claire never liked discussing her childhood. Whenever I asked questions, she'd change the subject. She had almost no old photographs. No childhood friends. No relatives except a distant aunt I'd never met. At first, I ignored it. Everyone has painful memories. Everyone has things they don't want to talk about. Then one evening, everything changed. I came home early from work. As I entered the house, I heard Claire speaking on the phone upstairs. Her voice sounded different, panicked, angry. You promised you'd never contact me again. Silence, then, no, he doesn't know. My stomach tightened. I moved closer. He can never find out the truth. My heart began racing. Then a floorboard creaked beneath my foot. Instantly, the conversation stopped. Seconds later, Claire appeared at the top of the stairs. Her face was pale. What are you doing home? I forced a smile. Meeting got cancelled. For a moment, she looked terrified. Then the expression vanished. Just like that. The rest of the evening, she acted completely normal. Too normal. That night, I barely slept. A week later, I received a phone call. It was Ryan. The first call in nearly 2 years. His voice sounded urgent. Meet me. I almost hung up. Instead, I agreed. When I arrived, he handed me a folder. I didn't take it. What is this proof? My stomach dropped. Proof of what? The reason I tried to stop your wedding. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he said something that changed everything. Claire Morgan isn't her real name. The world seemed to stop. What? I hired a private investigator. I stared at him. Part of me wanted to walk away. Another part needed answers. Ryan pushed the folder toward me. Inside were documents, photographs, records, names, dates. My hands trembled as I looked through them. Nothing made sense. Claire's past seemed to disappear before age 23. No school records, no college records, no employment history. Almost as if she'd appeared out of nowhere. This isn't possible. It gets worse. Ryan's voice was quiet, almost reluctant. He opened the folder to a specific page, a photograph. The picture showed a younger woman. Different hair color. Different name beneath the image. But it was Claire, there was no doubt. My chest tightened. What is this? Ryan looked away. The woman you married was declared dead 11 years ago. I felt the blood drain from my face. What? The original Claire Morgan died in a house fire. My brain refused to process the words. No, impossible. I looked at the photograph again, then again, then again. Same eyes, same smile, same face. Ryan continued speaking, but his voice sounded distant, like it was coming from underwater. Someone took her identity. I couldn't breathe. My entire marriage suddenly felt unreal. Every memory, every conversation, every promise, all of it built on a lie. Finally, I looked up. Who is she? Ryan's expression darkened. That's the problem. What? He swallowed. We still don't know. The silence between us felt endless. Then he said the words that would change my life forever. The person you married may not even be the woman they're looking for. I frowned. What does that mean? Ryan's face turned pale. The investigator found evidence that someone else has been searching for her. A cold knot formed in my stomach. Who? Ryan slowly reached into the folder, pulled out a photograph, and slid it across the table. The moment I saw the man's face, every hair on my body stood up, because I recognized him. I had seen him before, more than once. Standing across the street from our house, sitting in a parked car near my office, watching, waiting. And suddenly I understood something horrifying. He hadn't been watching Claire. He had been watching us. Ryan looked me directly in the eyes, then whispered, Nathan, 3 days ago that man was found murdered. My heart stopped. And according to the investigator's last message, he paused. Your wife was the last person who met him alive. My heart stopped. And according to the investigator's last message, your wife was the last person who met him alive. For several seconds, I couldn't speak. I just stared at Ryan, waiting for him to laugh, waiting for him to tell me this was all some terrible misunderstanding. But he didn't. His face remained completely serious. What are you saying? I finally whispered. I'm saying you need to be careful. No. I shook my head. No, you're accusing my wife of murder. I'm telling you the facts. I looked down at the photograph again. The man's name was Victor Lane. According to the investigator's notes, he'd spent almost 2 years searching for the woman known as Claire Morgan. And 3 days earlier, he'd been found dead in a motel room nearly 200 miles away. No signs of forced entry, no robbery, no obvious suspects, just a dead man and a dozen unanswered questions. I stood up so quickly my chair nearly fell over. I can't do this. Nathan, no. I grabbed the folder. I need to hear this from her. Ryan closed his eyes, almost like he'd expected that response. Just promise me one thing. I stopped. What? Don't tell her where you got the information. I frowned. Why? His answer sent a chill through me. Because if she's hiding what I think she's hiding, the moment she knows how much we know, everything changes. I left without another word. The drive home felt endless. My mind was racing. Nothing made sense. The woman I married couldn't be a fake identity. She couldn't be connected to a murder. She couldn't be living under someone else's name. But deep down, something else bothered me. For years, Claire had avoided talking about her past. And suddenly, all those strange moments felt different. By the time I reached home, it was almost dark. Claire was sitting on the back patio. A cup of tea rested beside her. She smiled when she saw me, then she noticed the folder in my hands. The smile disappeared. Just like that. What is that? I sat down across from her. My pulse was pounding. Who are you? The color drained from her face. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she quietly asked, Who told you? I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. Not denial, not confusion, not anger. Just one question. Who told you? I opened the folder, placed the photograph on the table. Her hand started shaking. Nathan, who are you? Tears instantly filled her eyes. And then she said something I never expected. My name isn't Claire. The world seemed to tilt beneath me. For a long moment, I couldn't breathe. She wiped her eyes. My real name is Evelyn Hart. The name meant nothing to me. Nothing at all. Yet somehow it destroyed the life I thought I knew. For the next hour, she told me everything. Or at least, everything she could. 20 years earlier, Evelyn's mother had witnessed something she was never supposed to see. A financial crime involving powerful people, people with money, connections, influence. When authorities began investigating, witnesses started disappearing. Some vanished, some died. And eventually, Evelyn's mother was murdered. Evelyn was only 18, terrified and alone. Someone helped her disappear before she became the next target. New documents, new identity, new life. Claire Morgan. The name belonged to a girl who had died years earlier. The identity wasn't stolen for profit. It was used for survival. At least that's what she claimed. I wanted to believe her. But another question remained. What about Victor? Fear flashed across her face. A real fear I'd never seen before. He found me. Who was he? He worked for them. My stomach tightened.
The people who killed your mother?
She nodded. For years, she explained, Victor had searched for her, and eventually he found her. 3 days earlier, he contacted her, demanding a meeting, threatening to expose her identity, threatening to destroy everything she'd built, including our marriage.
What happened?
Her voice cracked. He was already dying. I frowned.
What?
She looked down. Victor had terminal cancer. That wasn't the answer I expected. According to Evelyn, Victor spent years carrying out dirty work for dangerous people. But once he learned he was dying, he started regretting his life. The meeting wasn't about revenge. It was about guilt. He wanted forgiveness. He wanted peace. And most importantly, he wanted to warn her. Someone else had started looking for her again. Someone far more dangerous than Victor. When the meeting ended, Victor was alive. The next morning, he was dead. I sat there silently, trying to process everything. Then I asked the question that mattered most.
Why didn't you tell me?
The tears returned. Because I loved you. I laughed bitterly. People don't lie for years because they love someone. She nodded.
I know.
The sadness in her voice felt genuine. I was terrified that if you knew who I really was, you'd leave. Part of me wanted to walk away forever. Part of me still loved her. I hated both feelings. For weeks, I didn't know what to do. Then another bombshell exploded. Ryan called me one evening. His voice sounded shaken.
Nathan, I found the investigator. What?
The investigator who worked the case. My pulse quickened.
Where? He wants to meet.
The following day we met him, and what he revealed changed everything. The investigator admitted he'd made a massive mistake. The dead girl from the fire. The original Claire Morgan. The identity records. Much of the information was wrong, corrupted, incomplete. Someone had deliberately manipulated the files years earlier. The deeper he investigated, the clearer one thing became. Evelyn wasn't the criminal. She was exactly what she'd claimed to be. A woman hiding from people who wanted her found. Then the investigator revealed something else. Something that left both Ryan and me speechless. He slid an old photograph across the table. The picture showed a group of men standing outside a warehouse nearly 20 years earlier. One of them was Victor. Another was a man neither of us recognized. And standing beside them was our father. Ryan's face turned white. So was mine. Our father. The man we'd buried almost 20 years earlier. The investigator looked at us carefully. I think your father helped hide Evelyn. My mind went blank. What? He nodded. After her mother died, someone paid for her new identity. Someone protected her. I stared at the photograph, my hands trembling.
You're saying my father knew her? Not just knew her.
The investigator took a deep breath. I believe he died protecting her. The room fell silent. Suddenly, everything made sense. Ryan's fear, the secrecy, the missing answers. Years ago, our father had become involved in protecting a terrified young woman, a woman whose life remained in danger. And before he died, he'd told Ryan part of the story. Not enough details, just enough to make Ryan suspicious when Claire, Evelyn, appeared in my life. Ryan never had proof, only fragments, pieces, instincts. That's why he offered me $50,000. Not because he hated Evelyn. Not because he thought she was a criminal. Because he believed the people hunting her might eventually come after me too. He thought marrying her would place a target on my back. For years, he'd carried that fear alone. And he was willing to lose his relationship with me to protect me. When I finally understood that, I broke down. Because everything Ryan had done came from love. Misguided at times. Incomplete. But love. A few months later, something unexpected happened. The investigation into Evelyn's mother's murder was reopened. New evidence surfaced. Old witnesses came forward. Several powerful individuals were finally charged. The case that had been buried for decades finally saw justice. And for the first time in 20 years, Evelyn was free. Truly free. No more hiding. No more fake names. No more fear. It took time for our marriage to heal. A lot of time. Trust isn't rebuilt overnight. But unlike before, there were no more secrets. No more lies. Only truth. And sometimes the truth hurts before it heals. 2 years later, Ryan stood beside me at a family gathering. Watching Evelyn laugh with our children, he smiled. Then handed me something. An old, faded check. The same $50,000 check he'd offered before my wedding. I laughed.
You kept it?
He shrugged. I figured one day you'd understand. I looked at my brother. The man I'd spent years resenting. The man I'd refused to listen to. The man who never stopped trying to protect me. Then I hugged him. And for the first time in a decade, everything felt right. Looking back now, I've learned something important. The people who love us don't always have the right answers. Sometimes they're wrong. Sometimes they only know part of the truth. But real love is willing to risk being misunderstood. Real love is willing to be hated if it means keeping someone safe. My brother nearly lost me because he was trying to protect me. And I nearly lost him because I refused to listen. So if there's one lesson in all of this, it's simple. Never assume the people who challenge you are your enemies. Sometimes the person standing in your way isn't trying to ruin your future. Sometimes they're trying to save it. And sometimes, years later, you discover they were carrying a burden they never should have carried alone.